Hi everybody, welcome back to my Dungeon Boss PvP series. I'm going to be going on a PvP binge post pretty soon. I'm going to start showing some videos with dealing with lead-off heroes. What I want to cover before I get to that is just the third part of the reptile teams. The reptile teams plus Kira tends to be one of the more powerful ones. You can beat this one with a heavily armored team. I don't personally have that kind of a setup yet, but I wanted to show you an alternate team here first. If you have the appropriate build for it, you might be able to pull this one off. I want to stress right from the start, though, that this is not a highly reliable team. It all depends on what sort of runes you see on Kira. Now, if you backtrack a couple of seconds and actually look at what I had saw on Kira, he doesn't have a champion rune. He also has a bulwark rune, which tells me that he's not decked out completely in power. So the goal here is to have Koros and Furnace. Furnace gives Koros a buff to his health and defense, which makes him survive. So the goal is to have Shade and Koros basically do the brunt of the damage. Furnace is there for just some tanking and some support. And Leo is there to res either Koros or Shade, depending on who actually gets killed. So like I said, this isn't a highly reliable team, but if you find that the Kira looks weak, usually Koros can survive that. I've noticed in some of my benchmark testing that Koros and Furnace, when they're paired together, they can a lot of times survive Kira's opening attack, but it's not 100% the case. So you do have to be very aware of what runes are on Kira. If he's not rocking a champion rune, specifically one of those greater champion runes with the plus 10%, you might want to give it a try. But this is also going to require that your Shade is pretty powerful as well. So the methodology here is similar to that if you're using Shade. Essentially what we're going to do is we're going to try and use Leo to our advantage, because we know that somebody's going to end up dying here. So the big thing is we use Shade first because he can't be taunted. We kill their opening hero, which happens to be Cobressa here. And so she goes down without any problem. Gives Viperia the shield, not really an issue. So then next, what happens is, because we took out their first turn, we get to use Koros, kills Krex, and continues to give the shield on Viperia. Now Viperia is going to clean house here. There's nothing we can do about that. So depending on where the Leo mechanic comes in here is actually going to benefit us, because realistically, if Shade comes back, which he does, we actually steal the shield. And then if Koros comes back, so we do have a little bit of elemental advantage. Ideally, though, in this case here, having Shade come back is the better option, because we can steal the shield here. Now, I personally wouldn't put a ton of stock into this one. I think you'd be better off trying to go with a armored team instead, just because it's a little bit easier to control. If you have to go to a point where you're banking on Leo to res one person or the other, you have to remember that if he would have brought Koros back, we wouldn't have been able to break through that shield. So then we would have had to make sure we survived that next attack, which we don't know that we could have. Because even though it wasn't the first main attack with the snakes on the plane, the Death Bites attack is still pretty potent as well. So it requires a little bit of luck. I would recommend only using this team if you had a streak of 0 or 1. I wouldn't risk your streak on it. Otherwise, essentially what you're looking at here, this is the alternate version of that. If you're not careful about inspecting runes, or you just get caught off guard, this here will probably tend to happen to you more often than not. Is Kira will open, didn't kill Shade, but killed Koros. So now we're at the whim of basically what can we do here. So we can kill any of the Gorgons basically, and then what? We're kind of stuck. We're relying heavily on dodge chances and just overall damage mitigation, and it's just unlikely to ever pan out here. So really, it doesn't matter who you kill without a little bit of luck from Leo. You're not gonna get very far here. So in this case here, I kill Cobressa again, and then the shields proc, and then there goes Shade. Had Shade dodged there, we still would have had to survive Viperia as well. It's unlikely that would have happened. And then we got the Leo and Shade res again. So basically this one stands a chance at this point here, if we're being honest. But if he's not going to kill anybody, realistically, if I would have gone for Kira instead, that might have been the smarter plan. But really, we're relying on some dodges here in order to survive. But not much you can do. And at this point here, Kira comes and just kills the team. So you have to be cautious about using this team. Like I said, if you want to try and use armored teams, that's probably going to give you a little bit better success. But overall, this particular defense, unless you have a solid plan for it, I would just assume skip it most of the time. So if you have any questions or comments, feel free to leave them below. Otherwise, stick around and then I'll start posting some specific teams, and basically I'm going to try and come up with the most popular teams that I see on defense and come up with some options for you to beat those. So as always, thanks for listening. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Thanks.